Now, if you're like me, grooming your dog is definitely more of a chore of dog ownership than the joy of dog ownership. I'd much rather be out in the countryside playing fetch with my Labrador and exploring the beautiful outdoors, but we have to make sure that we're meeting their mandatory grooming requirements. So in today's video, let's look at what the grooming requirements for a Labrador actually are. First and foremost, let's clarify something about standards. Before you even get started with your research on grooming your Labrador, you need to think about how far you're willing to go and how pretty you want your pooch to look. If you want to take it to Crufts or Westminster, then you're going to need to pay close attention to breed standards and what makes a lab look its best in what is to some extent a beauty pageant. On the other hand, if you've got a lab for working purposes or a family companion lab, then it's likely you'll stick to the fundamentals and not go too wild with it. As long as you're doing the basics, the things that keep your Labrador healthy and hygienic, then you're doing all you need, and it's your prerogative to decide how much further you want to go, if at all. Now, if you're not in the show world and your dog looks beautiful to you, then you've met the only standard that matters in terms of aesthetics. That said, the Labrador is quite an easy dog to keep in tip-top condition through basic grooming, whether you're stomping around in the show ring or the local neighbourhood. The only major issue with a Labrador's grooming that I can see is that they are outrageously heavy shedders for such a short-coated breed especially. It still surprises people new to the breed just how much fur they deposit in their homes and on passers-by. It is on par with Huskies, though the fur is obviously much shorter. Because they are double-coated, it gets worse during coat blowing seasons, during which time efforts need to be at least doubled to stay on top of it. Fortunately though, they are not huge dogs and they don't have any special features that need to be accounted for, like wrinkles, shaggy undercarriages or double dew claws, so they're not a nightmare to groom. Now, starting with their coats then, the Labrador needs a good going over with a soft pinned slicker brush at least once a week if you don't want to be vacuuming and lint rolling your upholstery and clothes on a daily basis. This frequency might get as high as once a day during those heavy shedding seasons, during which time you may need to supplement your brushing with a undercoat extraction tool as well to really help reduce the number of soft kind of tumbleweeds of Labrador size and colour throughout your house. Fortunately, they're not huge dogs, so this process doesn't take nearly as long as it would with their giant shaggy cousins, the Newfie. Now, 5 to 10 minutes per brushing session is typically enough. Now, next let's look at bathing. A monthly bathe in the tub is probably enough for most labs, but this can be adjusted in both directions depending on the home and terrain that you're walking your dog in. You can get away with a couple of bathing sessions a year if you live in a city and commit to wiping paws down after walks. But if you live, like me, out in the countryside and your dog likes to pound in the forest and go swimming through anything that they can find dirty, then you might have to up your bathing frequency on a needs basis, depending on what level of filth that you can accept in your home, whilst obviously also ensuring that excessive grime hasn't got into your dog's ears in the process. Now, with the coat maintained, we can now look at the upkeep of your Labrador's head. Given their working history, the features of their heads are quite resilient, meaning that only the occasional wipe down of the ears and nose are usually sufficient, and a fortly ear clean will suffice. Because they are an incredibly orally fixated breed, another feature of their retrieval-focused selective breeding over the centuries, their teeth do need a bit more attention than many other breeds, particularly if they are in traditional working roles. A minimum of a weekly toothbrushing, ideally with a specialised brush for canine-specific toothpaste, is a necessity for these mouthy dogs. That's usually enough to keep their head ship shape and shiny. So let's head down south. Now, we're at the paws. Some labs, like some people, are slightly furrier than others and so may require an occasional trim between the pads, but this is certainly not standard for the short-coated breed. What's most important is their claws. Because Labradors are in every imaginable neighbourhood, from the isolated grassy woodland to the bustling city centres, there is massive recommendation range when it comes to the frequency of clipping and filing. Now, bi-monthly is about average, but if your lab mostly walks on concrete and stone rather than carpet and grass, you can get away with less often than that, and vice versa. Just keep an eye on them and play it by ear. Oh, and don't forget those dew claws, which never come in contact with the ground and need regular attention. And that pretty much wraps up in terms of basic grooming. Whilst the amazing Labrador is typically quite happy to be groomed, most dogs don't enjoy having their paws held. So early and lifelong commitment to desensitizing grooming tools and positions is a good idea, taking the same approach that you would take to any other aspect of puppy socialization. That way, grooming can become a bonding opportunity rather than a battle. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to learn more about one of my favourite breeds in the world, the Labrador Retriever, make sure you subscribe to this channel because it's exactly what it's designed to do, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode.